Katie Steiner joins us now from the lakefront with an update on conditions there. Good morning, Katie. How are the winds now?
Good morning, Leslie. Well, we were here yesterday and the winds were much worse yesterday. Things have kind of calmed down a lot. Another thing we're noticing, the humidity is much higher today and it's a little bit warmer as well. So you can see the waves coming up here on the seawall. Honestly, not as big as we were seeing here yesterday. So things are calmed down a little bit, but this isn't really from Nate yet. We're not seeing Nate yet. We're not going to see it really for another couple of hours, even into the afternoon time. That's when we might see this around our area. So as you guys said, the city does have a mandatory curfew starting at 7 p.m. tonight going through Sunday morning. So that means that if you do not have to be out and about, please stay home. Now the city does say that if you have to go to work, that's fine, you can do that, but the city wants the roads to be as clear as possible for first responders. Also, all underpasses are going to be closed at that time too. So the city has the barricades that you see all around the city. They are going to put those barricades on the low-lying roads and the underpasses at that time. They have high water trucks and boats all over the city as well. So they are trying to be as prepared as possible. And the city said that there are things that you can do to prepare for this storm. So first of all, go outside, especially today. We will have some time before the winds pick up. Bring everything from outside that could fly around inside. You just don't want that to be around breaking things. Also, the other thing you can do, park your car on high ground. The city is not going to be ticketing you starting at 8 o'clock this morning. You can park on those neutral grounds. Just stay off of the neutral grounds with streetcar tracks. And then the other thing the city's asking you to do is clean your catch basins. Anywhere around, if you see a catch basin, go out there with a shovel. Just make sure that that is as clean as possible. So as for the city pumping situation, the mayor says that he does feel confident. He says, quote, "We have sufficient pumps and manpower to handle Nate," end quote. There are 11 pumps that are not working, and the city does have 3 working power turbines. Now the National Guard is also here. They have their own high water trucks that are going to be helping out. And another big concern is power. So Entergy has been telling us that if you are going to be sheltering in place, make sure you do expect to have up to 7 days out of power. So there are things that you can do to prepare for that. Make sure you get all of the things that you would need to be out of power for 7 days. And you do have time. You have all day to prepare for that. We see long gas lines. Again, people going to Costco yesterday, there were big lines there. So if you haven't done that already, make sure you go out and do that today. Because again, you do have some time before this storm hits. The other thing that you can do to prepare is sandbags. The city is going to be providing sandbags. There are 5 different locations. You can go to fire stations on Elysian Fields. You've got one on Reed Boulevard. There's also one in the Martin Luther King Boulevard. You've got one at the 4100 block of Woodland Avenue and one on Robert E. Lee as well. So if you want those specific locations, head to our website at wwltv.com, and those are going to be manned 24/7. They're going to keep filling those sandbags for you. So the city is going to provide the sand. They're going to be providing the bags as well. The one thing that I would recommend bringing, though, if you are going to go out there, is make sure you bring a shovel and maybe a couple extra people to help you grab those sandbags and put them into your car. We were seeing long lines there yesterday, and I'm sure that's going to pick up as well today, especially now that everybody is off. So a couple things that you need to keep in mind with this storm coming, but the big thing here, guys, that is key is you have time to prepare today. So make sure you do that. Go out to the store, go out to the gas station, grab those sandbags if you need them before the storm hits. Reporting live from the lakefront, Katie Steiner, Eyewitness News.
Now.
Good morning, Leslie and Karen. Well, right now, not too bad. It is pretty humid out here, and the wind just started picking up a little bit. But compared to yesterday, really not as bad. You're not seeing the waves come up as high as we saw yesterday here on the seawall. You're looking at Lake Pontchartrain as of right now. But so far, for the city of New Orleans, the thing you need to know is tonight at 7 p.m., the city is issuing a mandatory evacuation. So what that means is if you don't have to be outside your house, please stay inside. Stay home. If you do have to go to work, the city says you can do that. That's fine, but the city wants the road as clear as possible in the city of New Orleans for all first responders. So that means that all underpasses are also going to be closed. Those low-lying areas that flood a lot, the police are just going to put the barricades up before the storm even hits, just in case. So all the barricades are there and ready to go. The other thing the city has placed around the city are high water trucks and boats. Those are at fire stations and police stations throughout the entire city. Now the city says you can do things to prepare. So first of all, if you have things in your your yard outside in your backyard or your front yard that are a little bit lighter that could fly around with these really strong winds, bring them inside. You don't want those things to fly around your neighborhood. Other thing, if you want to get your car to high ground, that's fine. The city says that you can park on the neutral grounds. Starting at 8 this morning, they aren't going to be ticketing any cars that do that. The city just asked that you stay off of streetcar tracks and also train tracks in the area. The other thing the city's asking you to do is go out and clean those catch basins. They need your help, so if you go out today, there's still plenty of time. Go out and clean those catch basins in your neighborhood. Go out with a shovel, try to clean them as much as possible. Now, as for the pumping situation, I know this makes a lot of people nervous, especially with our depleted situation. The mayor does feel confident, though. He says, quote, "We have sufficient pumps and manpower to handle Nate," end quote. There are still 11 pumps in the city of New Orleans that are not working, but the city does have 3 working power turbines. And the National Guard is also here. They're going to be helping out with Sewerage and Water Board with their situation. They also have their own high water trucks that are going to be helping out. Now, another big concern here is power. Entergy has told people if you are going to be staying, if you're going to be sheltering in place, expect to be out of power for at least 7 days or up to 7 days. That could be the potential with this storm. So make sure you have all of the things that you would need for being inside of your home without power for 7 days. So definitely you want to make sure you have water. You want to make sure that you have food that you can prepare that you don't need to microwave or you don't need to get out of the fridge as well. And if you want to prepare sandbags, you can do that. The city is going to be offering free sand, free bags that you can do that. There are going to be 5 locations throughout the city of New Orleans where you can go get your sandbags. What I would do, I would bring a shovel. The city, of course, is going to be providing the sand. They're also going to be providing the bags, but there aren't really a whole ton of shovels at those fire stations that they're going to be at. There's 3 different ones. You've got one on Robert E. Lee, you have one on MLK, you have one on Elysian Fields, you've got one on Reed as well. But if you want all of those locations and the addresses, just head to our website, wwltv.com. I would bring a shovel. Also, you can get 6 bags per person. That's what they've been doing. Those lines have been pretty long, so I would go early. They actually are opening those 24/7. So again, there's time to prepare for the storm. We're not going to really see the effects of this until the afternoon, and then obviously it is going to hit really tonight and then overnight. So there's lots of things that you can do to make sure that you're prepared. You can run to Costco today. You can get gas. Then you can also get those sandbags if you need it as well. Reporting live from the lakefront, Katie Steiner, Eyewitness News.
People spending the morning making preparations, doing sandbagging, that sort of thing. That's right. People have lined up to get sandbags at locations around the city.
And Katie Steiner joins us now from one of those locations on Elysian Fields. How's it looking out there? Looks pretty busy.
Hey guys, yeah, it's been really busy. We've been here for about 2 hours and people have been streaming in and out. We've been seeing a lot of people come in. Turnover is pretty high. They've actually been very quick with all of the sandbags. And we're here with Lonnie. Lonnie, you got here just about 10 minutes ago and you're already done.
Yes, I am. I'm trying to get it did quickly.
So what are you most concerned about with this storm?
My water coming inside my house. That's about it.
Have you flooded before?
Yes, I have. During Katrina, that was it. But I'm trying to protect myself this time.
Do you think the sandbags will help?
I hope so. I'm not for sure, but I hope so.
How long did it take you to do all this?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, it's not. And I'm about to go put them down.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for talking to us. We have 5 locations all over the city, and the city has actually been very proactive about keeping sand here. You can see a lot of people are here, so the sand is going pretty quickly, but there are city trucks that have been loading sand. We've been here for about 2 hours. We've seen one truck come bring some sand here, and there's actually another truck right here. You can see that black truck? That's filled with sand. So they have been keeping these sand piles very filled. So a couple things you need to know if you do want to come out here and get sand. They're going to be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can come at any time. Thing is, bring your own shovel. So obviously the city is going to provide the sand. The city is also going to provide the bags, but there's not really a whole lot of shovels to go around. So make sure you bring your own shovel. Bring shoes that won't get too sandy. We've seen some flip-flops. Come in tennis shoes, I would recommend. And then the other thing, it's starting to rain a little bit, so bring some rain gear. Be prepared for that situation. So those are the things you need to know if you want to come out and sandbag. They're going to be out here all day long. That's what you need to know. Bring that shovel. Reporting live from Elysian Fields, Katie Steiner, Eyewitness News.
And bring a lot of elbow grease as well.
Yeah, absolutely. BYOS, bring your own shovel.
Now let's go to Katie Steiner, who is out of the 17th Street Canal. Katie, what's going on out there?
Hey guys, the Army Corps of Engineers is getting ready to close this floodgate here at the 17th Street Canal, and I'm here with the guy in charge, Colonel Michael Clancy. And what are you guys doing here, and what's the timing for this floodgate?
Hi Katie, welcome. So we are here at the mouth of the 17th Street Outfall Canal, one of the 3 canals used to drain the city. This is the interim closure structure which we use to block the storm surge. So this water you see, this is where the drainage water from the city enters Lake Pontchartrain. These gates are typically not used, but in a tropical storm like this, with Nate coming down on us, we have to close the gates here off to our side. They are closing as we speak. You can see them dropping into the water. And then, so that means Lake Pontchartrain can't back up the canal and flood the city like happened during Hurricane Katrina. But the city still needs to drain. So the pump station will now start pumping the water effectively over this gate to keep the city drained, while at the same time blocking the water and the surge from Lake Pontchartrain from going up the canal. So this is 17th Street, similar structures on the other 2 outfall canals at Orleans and London Avenue. These are the interim structures. You can see it's behind us. Most everything's exposed. These were built quickly in 2006, immediately after Katrina, to get something in place as quick as possible. Behind us is the permanent canal closures and pump stations. Those are still in construction. They will be done this winter and ready to go for next hurricane season. And that'll be a long-term solution to the same problem.
And how do you know when to close the floodgates? Is there a specific trigger?
There is, yeah. So each of the 3 canals has a different trigger. A couple factors are, 1, how much surge is in the lake, and then 2 is how much water the Sewer and Water Board is going to be put into the canal. Here at 17th Street, the trigger is Lake Pontchartrain at 3 feet and rising. So you can see the gauge there. You can see the 3 tick just about to go underwater. So that's our trigger. We know Hurricane Nate's on its way, so it's only going to rise from here. So we're still several hours from the hurricane, but just get everything in place, get the city buttoned up. We're closing the structure right now, and we'll be ready to go. Do this in close coordination with the Sewer and Water Board. We have folks here at the pump station and the gates operating them. We also have the canal captain at pump station 6, in this case, coordinating with the Sewer and Water Board, because we want to match the amount of water the Sewer and Water Board puts in the canal. We have to match that taking out, so we don't over pump the canal or under pump the canal. So close coordination with the Sewer and Water Board. It's a great partnership with them. We're also, as we speak, closing the London Avenue Canal. The trigger for Orleans is a little bit higher. It's 5 feet at Orleans, so we're not yet closing the Orleans interim control structure, but we have a crew there standing by, ready if we need to do that.
So once these gates are all the way closed, will you have more water coming out of those pumps?
So eventually we will. We'll once the gates are closed, the water that the Sewer and Water Board puts in the canal to drain the city can't get out. So as soon as we know they're pumping, it's probably minimal to no pumping right now because it's not raining. But once it starts raining, as Sewer and Water Board needs to drain the city, we're in close coordination with them, and we will start matching whatever water they put in the canal, we will drain out.
And what other protocols are you guys doing with this storm coming to us?
So with the Corps of Engineers, we've done a lot of work, tremendous amount of work since Hurricane Katrina. We've upgraded the entire risk reduction around the city, 130-mile perimeter, lots of structures similar to this and others. Most of those are complete and turned over to Coastal Protection Restoration Authority and the 2 flood protection authorities, SLIP the East and SLIP the West. So they are doing most of the work, but I'll explain what they're doing. I just want to be clear that the Corps is not doing that. I want to take credit for the great work that the local flood authorities are doing. Basically checking the system, make sure everything's working. There are 498 openings in the perimeter of New Orleans. Some of those are simple as pedestrian gates. Some of those are road gates, railroad gates. Some of them are navigable structures. So everything from a door that you see in the wall that for a person on up to the West Closure Complex is the 2nd largest gate, floodgate in the world, behind one that the Dutch have. So just make sure all those are operating. Each one of those gates, all 498, have a different trigger based on their elevation and based on what the National Weather Service is telling us what the storm's going to look like. So you've seen the surge models from the National Weather Service. That's what we're using here. We're at 3 already. We expect to go maybe as high as 5 feet of surge here in Lake Pontchartrain. Lots of those gates won't be closed, like on the river. The river's very low right now, so all the gates on the river will not be closed for Hurricane Nate because we're just not going to get there with the height. So we're going through all that, making sure everything's closed. About 200 of those gates are now closed. We also evacuate the 2 canals, the Industrial Canal or the Inner Harbor Canal on the east bank, as well as Algiers and Harvey Canal on the west bank. Make sure there are no barges, no vessels in those canals. We do that in conjunction with the levee boards, the Coast Guard, and the Corps. We have to lock those vessels out. The west bank was cleared last night, and then we're still working on the Industrial Canal. Should be just about done now. Last I checked, there are still 3 barges need to come out. But we're working on that. Make sure that there's we call it the restricted navigation area. So the restricted navigation area is clear. So there's no, if the winds get high enough, there's no vessels bouncing about. Another problem we had in Hurricane Katrina where some barges broke loose in the Industrial Canal and destroyed some of the walls there. Other than that, it's really making sure we're safe, we're ready to go. We button up all our projects. You can see like the permanent canal closure project. They would be at work today were it not for Nate, but they lowered their crane. They've tightened everything up just like individual citizens would do in their house. Make sure there's no loose debris about. Make sure that if your job site is hit with heavy wind or heavy rain, you can survive it. And then we're getting ready to go. So as soon as the storm passes, we will kick teams out to do damage assessments around the entire system, see what happened, make sure everything is functioning as it should, or if anything got damaged, start assessing what the damage is. And we have survey boats, which we'll use to survey all the navigable waterways throughout the state. Main concern for this one will be the Mississippi River, particularly at the mouth of the river with the hurricane passing right over it. I expect some shoaling down there, so we'll begin surveying probably tomorrow afternoon to see what the damage is and start dredging if we have to get all the navigable channels back in operation, get navigation moving again.
And what is your biggest concern with this storm?
So my biggest concern is honestly complacency. The tropical storm Nate is right now, I think it's a Cat 2 storm. It's a big storm. We've seen bigger, but every storm is serious, and Mother Nature always has a way of throwing curveballs at us. So can't take any storm lightly. Everyone needs to pay attention, watch the weather, watch the news, listen to our elected officials. The mayor made the call not to evacuate. That's his decision to make. I think it's a good one given that this is not a gigantic storm, but people still need to take care of themselves and stay safe. And if things change, they need to pay attention and be ready to respond and react accordingly.
And talk about the communication that you've had with all of the other areas here in the city. It sounds like you are constantly talking to people. How important is that?
Oh, it's incredibly important. Yeah, and we are. So every emergency like this is a team sport. Everyone has a role to play, from the president and the FEMA director making national level executive decisions all the way down to private citizen. Everyone has a job and everyone needs to do their job. For a storm like this, Hurricane Nate, this isn't something we just got ready for. We practice, prepare, rehearse all year long to get ready for this. It's a partnership at all levels, from the federal government, federal agencies, down through the state, through the parishes, through cities. Everyone has a role to play. Unfortunately, we get lots of hurricanes here, so Louisiana is very good at hurricanes. I've served in the Corps around the country, and Louisiana is on top of their game in being ready for hurricanes, as well as the city of New Orleans, as well as all the coastal parishes. So we are in constant communications. Everyone has their emergency operations center manned. We, the Corps of Engineers, have personnel at 6 parishes, at the state headquarters, at the city headquarters ready. So it's all about communication at this point. As the storm comes down on us, we're all talking. We know what we're doing to get ready. We know what the storm's doing to us when it hits, and we know what to do after the storm to get things back to normal as quickly as possible.
And as we're watching this floodgate go down, how often do you guys have to close this? How often have you closed it?
We haven't closed it too many times. They got put in 2006. I think we've closed them 11 times or so. It's been a while. We only use these for tropical storms event. Now we operate them regularly for rehearsing them, make sure they work. We exercise them on a monthly basis outside of hurricane season, a weekly basis during hurricane season, make sure everything's in good shape and ready to go when needed. But on your average given day, these serve no purposes other than, like what I said, the whole, see it in the name, this is the interim closure structure, so it's meant to close the canal from lake surge. It's not part of the city's normal drainage system on a day-to-day basis. Your average rainstorm, these would not get used.
And so there's people back here, I can kind of hear them. What are they doing right now?
So they're closing the gates, making sure the gates are in fact all the way down and seated, and then you'll hear some clunking as they put pins in to lock the gates in place. So if we do get serious wind or serious waves or serious surge, the gates will not open, they'll be pinned in place.
So everything just got a lot more quiet. Does that mean that the gates are down?
Done, yeah. So the hydraulic pump just turned off, all the gates are in place, and so that's it. 17th Street is now blocked from Lake Pontchartrain, and we're standing by for the Sewer and Water Board to begin putting water in the canal and so we can pump it out.
Talking about the personnel that you guys are going to be having working throughout the weekend, I assume it's going to be a busy weekend for you all.
It will be, it will be. We will have New Orleans District, we'll have about 100 people working this weekend, various roles from local government liaisons at the parish and city emergency operations center to crews at the 3 interim control structures, to our crews at the locks around the city, the Inner Harbor Navigation Canal Lock, Algiers Lock, Harvey Lock, as well as a big crew in the district headquarters, keeping an eye on the storm really statewide, and like I said, all those things getting ready for what's next, because now that we're pretty much done with our storm preps, the gates are closing around the city, either the Corps operated gates or the Flood Protection Authority operated gates. We're still a couple hours out from the storm, but we're done just about all we need to do to be ready for the storm. So now it's just hunker down, stay safe, and be ready to spring into action once the storm passes to get everything back to normal.
So what are you guys going to be focusing on now going forward?
So now is just keeping up the crosstalk amongst everybody, make sure everything that needs to get done is done. We know where everyone is. We know who, in fact, is working, is not working. So we have everyone's name, make sure everyone has what they need. So the crew here, 6 guys or so, will stay here tonight. So they're going to spend the storm here, so make sure they're ready to go, food, water, all the stuff they need. All our communication systems are working, so we can talk throughout the night. We've got, we use regular cell phones like everybody else, but we also have other means of communications, our own network, our own radios, our satellite phones. So we'll just exercise all those, make sure we have redundant communications ready to go if, unfortunately, something happened to the normal communications grid. And that's it. Really, most of the heavy lifting at this point is done to get ready for Hurricane Nate.
And do you guys, does it change anything that this storm is coming tonight?
It really doesn't change anything, it just changes our timing. So I think the state set H hour at 8 p.m. tonight, which is when we think the first of the tropical storm winds will be hitting the state further south than here. But timing doesn't really matter. We adjust all of our plans off that H hour. It's it's a Saturday, but that doesn't really mean anything for us. We'll work. It's in the evening. That doesn't really mean anything. If it's 2 in the morning, we shift our times maybe a little bit, but otherwise the timing really is immaterial. We are ready to go whenever the storm hits.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colonel. I appreciate it. You can see now the 17th Street Canal floodgates are closed. Reporting live, Katie Steiner, Eyewitness News.
All right, Katie, that was a pretty cool thing to witness because they don't close all that often, and it's vital to the protection of the city and in Jefferson Parish because.
Yeah. Power goes out in your neighborhood, there are a few things you can do beforehand that could help you from losing your food, from spoiling in your refrigerator.
That's right. Katie Steiner has more on that story.
A lot of us are expecting to lose power over the weekend, and there are some things that you can do before you lose power to make sure that you save your food or at least keep it as cool as possible. So the first thing, open your fridge and change all of the settings to as cold as it gets. If there's anything in your fridge that you can freeze, put it in the freezer. The next thing you can do is make mini ice packs in case the power does go out. So fill containers or bags with water. Now the thing to keep in mind, water does expand when it freezes, so make sure you give it a little bit of room. So stick this into the freezer. The other thing you can do is bag ice. That will keep the freezer cool even after the power goes out. You want to make sure that you consolidate all of your items in the freezer. That way things stay cooler. Here's a power outage trick for you. Fill a water bottle all the way up with water. Once it's filled, put it in the freezer and let it freeze all the way for a couple of hours. And then at that point, you want to put a penny on top. Then close the freezer. If you do lose power, you can tell how long it went, or if your food has thawed, by where the penny is. So if the penny's even a little bit down on that water bottle, you know you can't eat the food in the freezer. Because if this penny was halfway down, the ice melted because the freezer was off, because you didn't have power. So now you're ready to close the freezer, close the fridge, and just hope that the power stays on. Now, if the power does go out, make sure you keep these doors closed because your freezer and your fridge will act as a cooler, especially with all those ice packs in there. So you make sure you want to eat something like an apple or a bar, something that you don't have to open that refrigerator for. Reporting in the studio, Katie Steiner, Eyewitness News.